welcome to Total Life Management. Let's start with you telling everybody your expectations. Like, what do you expect of this session? What are you trying to learn from? What maybe your problems or issues or questions are? Because as you see, it's going to be very different from the typical, JSON or JavaScript or Git session. Yes.
I would say anything in organization, prioritizing.
So how to set goals and how to work on goals that are important versus on something that's maybe sounds very urgent, but even if you drop it, it's no big deal. Very good. Okay.
Yeah, trying to manage time with work, because so far, sometimes my what's called? On my case is basically I work, sometimes my schedule is all over the place,
right.
And then my free time is the one I want to emphasize for improving myself.
So how to be more productive?
More productive, yeah, with a random schedule or
when you can control when you can spend and how much time you can spend on your activities that you're interested in. All right. Anybody else?
Well, we were just thinking it was something more like what he said, and just managing your time, getting things done more quicker. Certain goals that you want to reach at a certain time.
Very good. Okay. Well, this is about all this and much more. I think you'll like it. It's actually kind of a set of ideas and techniques that I've developed over the last 15 years or so. Back when I was still in Germany, I think, even before that, I would say, I read a bunch of literature about the research that was done back in 80s and early 90s at IBM about project management, how to be more productive, how to motivate people, how to get. So I read a bunch of books, and most of them were sort of about corporate management, but more and more were about managing yourself, how to combine these goals that you have. You have career goals, you have personal goals, you have health goals. So I came up with this sort of that's what I like to call total life management, all-encompassing sort of system that I've been sort of using for past 10, 15 years, and so far so good. I cannot imagine myself, not using it because there's so many advantages, and you can get an overview. And so my background is software architecture. I run my own company called Web Service Center Group. We are maximizing business processing. We are business processes at small, medium-sized companies. And so this is sort of extending that philosophy to individuals. Say how to, so some processes are pretty complicated. Different businesses could be thousands of different parameters that go into the whole system, but the ultimate complexity is a human being, right? The individual is even more so. This is kind of where it's going. All right. So maximize your log performance. This is what we're. So the reason people look into that is, and I would say that's 99.9% of people. They never reach their full potential. They waste their performance because they don't have really clear goals and they cannot execute for whatever reason. And that's why you see all these big movie stars or big CEOs. They have a bunch of mentors, and especially in professional sports, they have a bunch of doctors and coaches that maximize their athletic performance. Olympic athletes. Is it possible to apply the same philosophy to normal people? Using technology, web applications, can we provide the same power to individuals, normal individuals? So this is all about. This is what we're. So we'll learn how to break, life into smaller pieces. In fact, a lot of ideas and a lot of sort of stress that comes from you have too many things to do, you don't have time, you don't know what that comes really ultimately from.
Did you need audio in your?
Yes, I did need a audio cable if you have one.
Okay, let me go to my office.
Thank you.
How
Maybe-
far is it need?
So
from there to
here
there?
to here, just a 3.5
Mini?
millimeter. Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe 4 feet, 5 feet.
I'll be right back.
Perfect. Thank you. We may get it after all. Anyway, it's not a big deal. So, yeah, so most of that stress comes from us trying to handle, our brain trying to handle, like more than, I think there's a maximum of 7 things you can keep in your mind at the same time. All right, so if you try to use your brain as a storage mechanism, that doesn't work. That, you know, you try to remember too many things and then you get distracted, you get stressed out. So that's why you need a system, or we need a system that would, you can lay everything in, you can put a structure, you can visually see how, you know, different goals relate to each other. And then it's very easy. You say, okay, I see the overall big structure, then let's focus on one little piece here. Work on that, and that contain, we'll see later. So the point is, once you have that whole system worked out in whatever way, shape, or form, then you can focus. There will be much less stress. You can focus on one goal at a time, and you can, while retaining the overview. So, and then you can correlate and improve. We'll look at that later. So we'll try to be a very high energy sort of interactive session. So please ask questions. Any questions so far? You sure you have no questions?
All right, so.
Your questions, please.
All right, so one question on the topic.
Yeah.
Will we have the access to the video afterwards? Like if we want to go
If
on
that
the
works
time?
out, yeah. Let me see how it's recording.
Or at least the slides?
Yes, definitely the slides will be. Seems to be recording fine. So yeah, I hope so.
All right, cool. Nice.
Yeah, thanks. So, so quick question, brainstorming setup. So if we have time, and I think we might, we'll do a total life management setup. So we'll pick up a volunteer, and we'll make like a full, it takes about 10, 15 minutes, I think, a full sort of total life management setup for them. So one of you lucky ones could actually walk out with a whole life planned out for you with the help of everybody else here.
Oh, nice.
It doesn't have to be your real goals. We can pick up any basic, just to demonstrate the point. All right, so we'll talk about optimizations and some tools that I'm using. But in order to start, we need to look at the goal. So what is a goal? The way we define it is it's a unit of achievement. So you can think about it as sort of a node in your life story, right? It's like a milestone. You reach that milestone, and you have, and from there you can go on to the next milestone. And as you hop between these milestones, your sense of accomplishment increases, your productivity increases, and you have a better. You're on your way to achieving those goals. So every goal has a name, has a deadline. You probably heard about SMART goals, SMF. You can look it up later. But anyway, the point is that you should make it very measurable. Should have a name. Should have a priority. We'll talk about that, and who you delegate those goals to. So most people say, okay, so it's the goals, my goals, right? I have to do them myself. Not necessarily. You can say, half of your goals you can delegate to somebody else. And we do that subconsciously very often. You have your friends.
For some people, you can't delegate to other people. For some goals.
Well.
Like what if your goal is like to lose weight?
Okay. Well. You can still do some tricks there. You can ask.
You can go with them, right? So invite them to go for a walk or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, buddy.
Right.
System.
Walking exercise buddy.
And they can hold you accountable too.
Right. So you would be surprised how many things you can delegate. And that's one of the key things. You don't have to. You're not alone here. You don't have to do. In fact, if you do all your goals yourself, that's a waste of time. Because you can trade favors with other people, right? You can have. And you help them somehow, and they help you because maybe they're better at this, whatever you need to do. that's the, that's why product managers are usually so much more productive, because they have people working for them. And they know who is best at what, so they say, oh, Joe here, here's the stuff you love doing, and then Joe spends a couple nights doing this, and it's like 1 month worth working because he loves doing that stuff. So it's so you don't have to be a project manager if you have a good group of friends that you can sort of trade favors. You can almost do the same thing. So good goals are measurable, achievable, inspiring, delegate to right people. That's very important. So if you don't, delegate goals to people who don't like it, if you have a goal that that somebody doesn't like, find a person. Either you change the goal or find somebody who likes that. And don't work on goals that you don't like, right? Even if you delegate it to yourself, goals. If you don't like working on that goal, there's something wrong with the goal, right? You change the wording, you change the way, maybe change the goal so that you stay motivated.
Or somebody, I've seen somebody else try to set goals for you, like, we
Yeah,
want
that's
you
the
to
worst.
do this, that, and those things usually don't.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so wow, look at that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Perfect timing. I'll take it from here.
Can you remove this?
Yeah.
His
I'll
hazard.
Oh, okay, really.
Yeah, oh, I could move this and then this. you
I
could
just
have-
take a cable and thank you.
I just, okay.
So let's see. Yeah, that's plenty. Thank you. All right. So let's come up with a few goals. Let's see if this works. I will try to. I would say let's use OneNote. So this is one of the software.
Microsoft Office?
Yeah, it's part of the Office. I guess we could. I don't know. Just use this.
Yeah.
All right. So let's come up with a couple of goals. So the idea here is you have these. Remember I told you about nodes, so you can have like a couple of goals, and that's how you basically start this. You just come up with any goals, write it down in some way, and then see how they fit. All right. Give me a couple of goals. What do you want to achieve? What's your ultimate? Or it doesn't have to. It can be any scope. It can be you want to finish something today. You want to finish something in 10 years. You want to buy a Tesla next year, right? Or a yacht, or I don't know. Anything is possible. I mean, it's amazing, especially in Silicon Valley. It's incredible what you can do. Yes.
I went to a workshop yesterday here, and this lady, she said she was 0 to developer in 3 weeks.
Oh,
I was
really?
like,
Okay.
wow.
So that's your goal?
I'll try.
Okay.
I'll give myself 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I'll double the time.
Right. Okay. So let's do this. So that's very good. So what you just said is has most of the components of a goal, right? You say I want to be a developer, and then you say in 3 to 5 weeks. That's a deadline.
Yeah.
That's another attitude. Very good. What we have to specify.
I should say I want to be a good developer and
Right.
be hired too.
Right. So, yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
So, so remember we talked about measurable goals. So, as you're alluding, the way to measure if you're a good developer or not is whether you're hired, right? So maybe the goal should be, I want to get a job as a developer in 3 weeks.
I got to be a developer first, I think. But
Right.
yeah,
But from zero experience, right? That's what the baseline.
Yeah.
Like without experience.
I'm a student right now, so. But
So that would be your longer. So okay. So
we can add on this, add on.
right. So that's what you're. Okay. This is maybe not the best. So the way it works is you put hierarchy, and we'll look at this a little later. So the first is job on top, and then sub goal would be
Maybe like programming languages.
Skill developer. And again, skill developer, we need to have it a little better measured. But anyway, and then under that, what do you need to become a developer, right? You need to take some courses. So anyway, it goes down. So this maybe could be 3 or 5 weeks. This could be 2 weeks, and this could be 1 week, where this, for example, is create your first program in that, or create some
Like a project.
portfolio of your projects. So you see you basically break it down into small steps. And then becoming a skill developer, for example, you can join some group, some meetup that are working on, so you can sort of get help from other people and also delegate, use them to delegate stuff and sort of get them to explain some stuff to you. Okay, so those are some of the goals. What else can we do? So this is one goal, is career goal, right? We'll talk a bit about the types of goals later. Give me one more goal. What do you want to do?
Lose weight.
Okay, lose weight. Very good. So let's specify what, let's be a little more clear. You want to lose 200 pounds, 300 pounds, 1 pound. When will you say that this goal is completed, right? We have to be, the goal has to be measurable.
I'm gonna say 50 pounds.
Okay, so 50 pounds, right? And
achieve it.
that-
Half a million.
50
So-
pounds, but by when?
exactly. When is the deadline? What's the deadline?
I think you gotta break it down smaller, I think, later. I mean, that's a big goal, but then
Right, exactly.
you should
And
break
then
it down smaller, like
basically,
maybe
we'll
10,
do this.
5
yeah,
pounds
exactly.
every
5 pounds
four-
in whatever.
every
yeah.
4 weeks. I don't know.
Okay, so we have a couple goals there, and we look at the. So as we talked about, goals have different time frames, right? Because, and in the system I'm using, it's very granular. It goes all the way from daily to 10 years, and you always start with the longest duration first, right? Because if you don't, what they say, if you don't know where you're going, you will end up someplace else, and it's not going to be the place you like. So it's better to.
If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up there anyway.
You'll end up.
We don't know where you're gonna go.
You'll end up someplace else where
Yeah.
you don't want to be,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody's going to be pushing you around, and you don't have the direction. So it's important to have a direction. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know, things change so quickly, and there's no point in having a direction. But then, if the environment changes, you can always change the direction. It's better to have it's much better to have a direction and have an overview how you want to get there. And if things change, you can correct that direction and reuse those skills maybe that you've acquired in a way, and you can plan it better. So, direction. So always start with 10 years, with longer term. Could be 5 years for some. Could be 10 years for other people. Priority is another component of a goal, or another attribute of a goal. So we have A, B, C, and D. Most systems say, oh, A, B, C is okay. I've added one more here. So A is important and urgent. Priority A goal, you drop everything else. It's both important and urgent. You work on it right now. Don't even think about doing anything else. Like this. And usually what it means that it's something that the deadline is coming up, right? You have to do it right now. And it's also very important. So my example, for example, in my case, priority right now is to get U.S. citizenship because my green card expires in a year. So that's, for me, it's priority A. It's both important and urgent. If I don't apply now, it's going to take them about a year or so, or half a year at least, to get all the documents through. So I have to do it right now. Priority B, important and not urgent. So that's the type of goals you work on next. After you've got all your A goals finished, you go to B goals. So those things are not urgent, so you can do it tomorrow. It's still important, that's why you're doing it, but it's not critically important that you have to finish right now. C is not important, urgent, and you only work on those goals if you have nothing else to do. It's kind of a nice thing to have. Okay, they might be urgent, right? Okay, there's a movie showing tomorrow, you know, and you want to go get the tickets. You have to get a ticket today. It's not really important. It's urgent, but not important. If you don't get it today, you know, you're not going to do it. You're not going to get the ticket, but it's not a big deal. So yeah, just forget it. The priority D is really just there for fun. You really don't. I mean, those are things. As we go through this life, coming up with goals, you know, brainstorming what goals you need in your life, or you have in your life. A lot of goals will be D. You know, kind of nice to do. Not important and not urgent. Maybe some I don't know, hobby that you have, or 10th hobby on your list. You know, that's not really important. So you mark them as D goals. Yeah. If you, yes.
I don't know if it's like going into what you're talking about that, but it seems to me that stuff in B will tend to fall through the cracks, and stuff in C will eat up a lot of time that B should be taking up.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, B stuff is the stuff you have to watch out for.
That's
The A
right.
stuff you're going to get done.
Right.
The B stuff is the stuff you have to watch out for, because those things can easily fall through the cracks.
Exactly. That's why we were saying, you know, B. As soon as you're done with A, you go to B.
Yeah, you want to go to B and not to C.
Right. Right. There is, and that's a very good point. There is always a.
Because the C stuff is going to hog up, is going to
That's
eat
right.
up the time that B is supposed to take.
Exactly. And there is a very very often an urge. You know, you like doing this stuff, and you know, it's not important, and it will take a lot of your time. Yeah. So you have to watch out. However, as I said earlier, you have to make the A and B goals interesting enough, and that's up to you, or you talk to somebody else. How can you make whatever you need to work on interesting? Because if it's not interesting, if it's going to be you know, you're not going to be happy doing it, and you're not gonna do your best job, right? So make sure you can make those goals interesting and motivating. All right, so there's some more attributes to a goal. So a goal, there are types, right? So we have standard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, standard there is 7, but I added one more goal type, which is corporate, and that's the goals of your company. If you happen to work on one or in one, if you're self-employed, that would be your business, I guess. So keep them separately. However, you can, as we will see later, we will. It's possible to do something that would contribute to both goal types at the same time. All right, so, and also we have status, which is, you can see, you know, if it's a near term, if it's, you know, completed, delayed, discarded, and who the goals are delegated to. So let's improve on our goals. So from what you've learned so far, right, what would you say these two goals are, right? Lose weight and you have a job, you get a job. So what types of goals are those?
Personal.
So from this career, friends and family, religion, belief, health. So I would say lose health.
Yeah.
Lose weight is
Right,
health.
definitely health is probably the best answer there.
Right. And the other one is career.
Yeah.
Right. So we have this would be career, and this is health. Let's see what else we've learned here from these goals. Goal types: status and delegated to, and time frame. Yeah, priorities. We could also set priorities. I don't know, health priority, lose 50 pounds, is it priority A or B or no, not a big deal? What do you say? What is priority?
I'm gonna say a typical scenario for losing weight
Yeah.
would be you're gonna lose weight by a particular event, whether it be like maybe a wedding or a summer
So that's the
season or
deadline,
something.
right,
So
right.
typically, I don't know how far down it's gonna go.
As down as you, as
Wrong.
far down as you want.
It's probably not gonna be if it's gonna be like lose that pound weight in 3 weeks, you're probably doing it wrong. So I'm probably gonna make it.
So So is it an A priority, B priority?
It's either gonna be A or a B. I
Okay.
would make it, depending on that, I'd probably wanna make it an A, but you don't wanna do everything at once.
Right, yeah, okay, so let's go, and then job, what's the priority in that job role? Is it A, B, or C?
Probably between an A and a B.
There's no between, sorry.
I'll say for me is an A.
Okay, so both are
Yeah, it
A.
depends on the person, it's like,
Right,
for me, it would be a B,
right,
for someone else, it would be an A.
exactly.
I
So,
have another job, it's
again,
not a
everybody- so-
non-tech job at the moment, so.
right, so this is your personal, so everybody, ultimately, everybody has to do this themselves, right, in whatever the system they use. And then you have answered those questions. All right, so status, delegated to, we'll look at that later. The grant, so this is basically how it works out, right? You have a big, long-term goal, and then you split, and split, and then you try to delegate as much as possible. Yeah, so the advantage, or the standard advice here is don't, you shouldn't have more than 15% of your goals be priority A, right? If every single one of, or half of your goals are A goals, something is wrong. They're probably not A, not, A really is like.
Yeah, what you'll basically be doing is, you'll basically be working like, your life would be working, you'd be in like urgent mode the whole time.
Exactly.
It's gonna burn your life out.
Right.
You can burn out.
So 15%, no more.
I know the feeling.
Right, there we go, thank you. And as I said before, trade favors, you're not best at everything. You have friends, you have contacts, ask them for help, and they will ask you for help in return. It's something you know how to do better. So tricks is to use one goal to support 2 or 3 upper level goals. So basically what this means is, let's say you have, so let's say you have a goal here, and this goal, or let's say, I don't know, let's look at this goal, right? So, and this could be your, I don't know, career goal. And then you split it, what would be a good example? Or let's say this sub-goal plan is your health goal, lose weight, and this is a job, get a job goal. So can you think of some goal on the lower hierarchy here, somewhere here, that if you complete that goal on the lower level, it would contribute to both goals. It could so basically you shoot two birds with one stone, right? You can achieve your health goal and a job at the same time, and that's the trick, to maximizing your potential. That's one of the tricks to maximize. So we have a job, get a job and then lose 50 pounds. Can we combine? Can we work on some? How can we possibly combine this thing so you achieve two goals and just spend half the time?
Walk to school.
There we go. That's one. How about going on some business trip and doing some exercise at the same time? I guess you can do interview. Yeah, like walk to the interview, or I don't know, or bike to the interview. Things like that, right? So you always look for opportunities to
Or at the
combine.
school, order the healthier food variety. Yeah.
Or go to gym, and maybe your potential employer is there as well, right? So you show him your discipline in the gym, so maybe he'll hire you because you got to be disciplined in the gym. Yeah, so a lot of things like that will help spend less time. So turn it into a knowledge management system. So a knowledge management system. What's your definition of a knowledge management system? Anyone?
So a cell phone-based app.
So what?
Cell phone-based app application.
Not quite. Anybody else? Knowledge management. And what?
A little notebook.
Okay, so knowledge management system is sort of a generic term for a system that allows you to store and view pretty much anything that goes around in your life. So your goals are there, your deliverables for any projects you do, basically anything. So a lot of people have their calendar as their knowledge management, one side, one piece of it. But really, this is like all-encompassing system that stores everything you do. It was very popular about 5 years ago. Back in Europe, I would say 5 to 10 years ago.
I took a Franklin Covey course sometime I think it's closer to 20 years ago.
Okay. And they talk about this?
They talk about, a lot of the stuff you talk about was covered there.
Right. Yeah, that's the standard stuff. I mean, this is...
But some of the things there in that system I didn't like, but...
Mhm. Anyway, so knowledge management system is you turn these goals into... So, to put it simply, let's say you come up with this hierarchy, and then you start working on these goals, and then you have a bunch of deliverables, right? A bunch of links, maybe text, whatever. You enter it in the same system, and all that becomes your sort of life management system. It comes from enterprise world where they want to keep track. So in enterprise world, it's kind of a project management system, but when you add your personal goals there, it becomes knowledge management system. Because you can search for anything you worked on, you can see how much time you spent on it. So this really becomes a place for you to go back to and learn from your previous experiences and improve. 8-20 rule, this can be applied. I know there's a Pareto principle as well. We can talk about that. So you guys know about 80% of success comes from 20% of goals. So most of the stuff. So if we can focus our attention on 20%, like this thing applies to almost anything. If you look at in the corporate world, 80% of sales comes from 20% of clients, right? So if you focus on those 20% of clients, you're not wasting your time on 80% that don't really buy anything. So see if we can apply that to the goals there. The 80% of progress comes from 20% of goals. So focus on that. Track and correlate, that's very important. So there's a feedback loop also that we can employ. See what works. So project management, I would say it's a subset of TLM, Total Life Management, and it's mainly for for corporate goals. But then we'd like to extend it to the other health and family and other types of goals. So, who said we will put a man on the moon by the end of the decade? Kennedy.
JFK.
Yes. And let's look at that goal. That's actually a very interesting goal, right? So what were the components of that goal? Put a man on the moon, right? That was, so we were talking about the 4 cornerstones of a project or a goal, right? So if you embarking on this TLM for your life, let's look at, so I would say treat every mission in your life as a project. And a typical project has at least 4 cornerstones, right? So there's time, the deadline. There's a budget, how much money you want to spend, how much resources, what's the target, put a man on the moon. So time was there by the end of the decade. That's a very clear goal. Target was put a man on the moon. So what is like, why are we doing this? What's the big deal? Okay, we get them there. And the answer in that era was, we get some international prestige. We had the Russians, and we showed them we also have some things going for us in space industry. So that was so what, Now what about budget? Was it even mentioned? How much that little project cost, right? Billions, trillions. Kennedy never even talked about the budget at that time.
In politics, you have heard the term liberal and conservative.
Right.
Well, liberal is one of those words whose definition has changed over time. Back then, liberal meant you'd be all in on a project like this.
Right.
So it's basically the budget. He didn't care about the budget. He was all in, so they're basically liberal he was basically a liberal by that time's definition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, right, right.
So
Anyway.
that's a political definition has
But
changed.
can a NASA launch a project now without mentioning its budget? Good luck.
Well, we're from the word liberal has changed. The definition has changed to like special interest. So
Right.
every group has their own goals and stuff. So instead of a common goal, he has to do with his generation specifically.
Exactly. Anyway, so so basically, what I challenge you to do, analysis on all these four cornerstones, and then more importantly is prioritize. What is number one? Is it time? Is it important that we put this guy on the moon by the end of the decade? Or if you're late couple years, is that a big deal? If you lose 50, if you want to lose 50 pounds by the end of the year, is that a big deal if you miss your deadline a couple of weeks, right? Or
Well, it depends on what your deadline. If your deadline is based on an event,
right.
like we mentioned wedding
So-
or whatever,
so-
that would be a big deal.
Right.
If it's just some random date, not such a big deal.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's say let's say your project, and I don't know. This is not exact. Let's look like at a big project. You're building a stadium for Olympics, right? And so what would be driving force? What's the priority in that? Which cornerstone is number one?
I would think of one more instead. How much building you have, or how much support do you have? Like for Kennedy, he had pretty much unlimited support, right? So he had unlimited budget, at that time.
Right.
So that's very important. Now we don't.
That's right. Right. Okay. Yeah. So let's say you're building a stadium for Olympics. What's the number one priority in that case?
The time.
The time. There we go. You missed the deadline by 1 week. It's a moot point. Olympics is over. Why? So you could. So what we learned from that? Maybe you can nudge if the time is the number one, you can exceed budget, right? Or you can exceed maybe you can change the target. Okay, maybe we wanted to have a multi-function stadium that could do all kinds of things. Now we don't have time, so we only do, we can build a stadium that can only do 2 types of sports. In your life, I don't know, if you have a project like that, see every time, prioritize the cornerstones. And what's number one, number two? Anyway, so this is the, so time logging and life logging. So this is sort of an interesting offshot of this system. So time logging is, I'll show you, this is my time logging. On the left here, right, so on the right, those are my goals sorted by type. So this is a little software I put together, and that's what I've been using for like 10
I would love to see the religious belief section because it's like I wonder what kind of goals you have there.
Yeah, let's not go there.
I mean, what kind of goals do people? Because I am a Christian, and a bunch of us have goals, but we don't have really have a timeline for them.
Yeah. Well,
Like memorize the gospel outline. By when?
yeah.
No wonder nobody
It's
does.
hard. I don't know. Anyway, but so on the left hand, on the right hand side, we have goals, right? I want to do the. Let's see. And maybe I'm taking a little to the extreme. So I'm putting my breakfast, exercise, lunch. But what's interesting is on the right hand side
Put that in there.
is a time log. So time log is how much time you spend, what you're doing right now, and how much time you spend on every. So let's say I were to have an early lunch here. So all I do is click here, and then it automatically closes the previous goal. So I can say that I've worked on present total life management presentation for 52 minutes, 54 seconds, and then I had lunch. So at the end of the day, you can go back. So actually, let's look at my day yesterday. You can go back and see what you've spent, how much time you spent on what, and learn from it. Maybe you shouldn't have. So, okay, so I was working in my car. I was preparing presentation. So let's see what. Okay, so I got up at 8:45 yesterday. It was pretty late, and then I exercised for 21 minutes. Right, so I had my morning routine was a little too long. I don't know why lunch is okay. That was a mistake. Breakfast was 21 minutes. So what could I have improved here? Actually, this is not a good example. anyway, but the idea is that you go over once you sort of start time logging yourself, all your goals. So once you have the goals, it's very easy to say, okay, I'm working on this goal, right? Just click there. And the system, some people write it down, what I'm working on, to the time, paper, or the phone. If you have something like this, that you can click on it, it's much easier. And then you can see exactly what you, so for example, I don't know, I can go on this goal and see when I worked on this goal, so I both worked today and yesterday, and how much time I spent, and so on. And you can optimize for the following day, you can see what you can improve. Anyway, so this is time logging, right? So this is very important in identifying what the problems you might have with your time management, or with your goal management, and how to. It's like you go to the doctor and they do a full physical, and they say this is you doing full physical on your own time management or on your goal management. And if you do it every day, you're going to be incredibly productive. You can also share it with other, there's a lot of big CEOs, they do this, and they hire coaches. And the coaches analyze all that stuff and say, oh, you spent 2 hours, on this project, maybe you shouldn't have, is it really...
I happen to know a life coach from my high school, so I went to high school one.
So they
became one.
do similar, yeah.
She became a life coach. So.
Okay. Anyway, so you group and integrate. So as we said before, see if you can put two things together, work on two things together. Correlate, and then you can also correlate different points. Let's say you can correlate your productivity with climate. What do you work better in a cold environment, hot environment, on the beach, or in I don't know. So anyway, so you sort of, once you have the system, you can really optimize a lot of options, right? So what are you doing with time? What time is it now?
Almost 10. It's
Oh, right.
10:57.
Okay, so we have what, about 15 more minutes? Well, okay, so what goals can be grouped, which ones can be correlated? Let's see if this works for here. We don't have enough goals to really group it. So let's go next. So, any questions so far? Yeah, let's go
Will
back.
this become more mechanical if we track everything?
What do you mean more mechanical?
Means you will be writing everything and doing exactly what you write. I mean, will that contain some entertainment or communication with your loved ones? How will
So
you
plan for that too.
Yeah, when you're time logging, you're basically writing the stuff down after the fact. So.
Actually, well, it depends on the system you use, but I use it when I switch tasks. For me, it's just one click. So I track when I finish on something, finish something else and start something, finish one thing and start another. I just one click and then I start working on that. So it's before you start to do that. But yeah, many cases you do it after the fact. But before the activity switch, it's easier to.
What happens if you get interrupted, like somebody calls or asks you to do something, or like, how do you log that?
So you
Do
find.
switch to a different task?
Yes. Usually you switch to different tasks. If you work, there is a concept of quiet hours. So a lot of people, and that was very common back again about 5-10 years. I think it might still be very common, where you post on your door, this is my priority A time frame, from 9 to 10. I'm not to be interrupted, and everybody knows that after 10 o'clock, and then during that time. You work on and it's amazing how much you can accomplish in 2 hours if you don't have any interruption.
Yeah, some people call that sharpening your saw.
Okay, yeah, sharpening, yeah.
Yeah, because you need to like refocus and that kind of stuff.
Right. If you work at a call center, or if you're, I don't know, support that, yes.
Sorry, going back to that thing about quiet time at our work, if someone puts like a red post-it note,
Yep.
That's like, don't
Don't
bother
touch.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
But then most people said that's when they're most productive.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Because people
that's
know,
important.
stop chit-chatting and get
Right.
to work.
Exactly. Yes.
software you show is a public or, the software you show?
How big? In what way?
Is that available to us? or-
No, it's actually, I put it together myself. It's just a couple of scripts, no big deal. So,
Would
yes.
you recommend like something like that program like on your phone or like a iPad tablet? Would you recommend?
So I would always use a web-based solution so you can access it from anywhere. You know,
We have to have a device on you at all times, basically,
we have.
which I'm not
devices
gonna,
that-
which would not be the case with me.
Okay, well, carry a phone with you. I
Where,
mean,
where I'm working right now, you're not supposed to have a phone on you, on your
Okay.
person.
are you working for CA or something?
Right now,
I don't know.
right now, I'm a write-off at Great America.
Oh, I
So,
see. Yeah,
You don't wanna have a phone in you, I'll bring a rifle.
right. Yeah, I guess it depends. Anyway, yes, so we have this. Any other questions? All right, so let's look into one more interesting, and this is actually something I've been doing for almost 2 years now. I stopped because so life logging is another set of sort of tools that can help you with your life management. So life logging is basically tracking everything you record. I used to carry a camera, and I would record all my interactions with the outside world. I wasn't doing it at home, but when I go to events and meet other people, I would carry the camera that would do 720p video, 15 frames per second with audio. So I had a record. Now I have a record of everything I've been doing for those 2 years. All my trips, all the events, and some of the stuff is actually very interesting. We can look at it later if you want. Some of the videos. So life loggers. Gordon Bell of one of the Microsoft people, he's been doing it for, he's actually one of the founders of DEC, I think. He's been doing it for over 20 years, and Microsoft hired him to be some researcher, so he worked on a project called My Life Bits. So they developed a software for him that would log all his calls, he would scan all his invoices, everything into a system, and he could find, stuff he was doing like 50 years ago from founding a company. So think about the wealth of the data, what you could do with that kind of data, how you can maximize your current life by learning from your past life. Steve Mann is a University of Toronto professor, I think, and he's been doing life-saving wearables for 40 years. And there's also quantified self movement. You probably heard about that. People log in their health attributes to improve health
Is
and
it patients like me or patients like me?
patience. Oh, yeah, I missed one T, right? Patience. Anyway, Cure Together is another one. You can check them out. Life logging, as I said. You can analyze, you can augment memory, forget something, somebody told you, oh, this is a great book you have to read, or this is an important point you have to, and you forget it the next day. If you had it on video, some other way, you can very easily, so it's a perfect recall. It's a great, but my camera broke down and it was too much. I need to find a better solution. And there's of course sentimental value. So let me show you, as an example, do you want to see the first person view of some of the videos I took? So this was, I walked around Stanford.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Should work. Anyway.
Audio output on the quick class.
Now it's sending. I think this cable is not working. Detroit, direct, oh. Let's see. Their system is on. Anyway,
You go to your speaker, you will see.
There we go.
What? yeah, this
that's
is from this. Anyway, this is kind of. This is a first-person view. So I have a bunch of videos like this. They have a pretty good piano there, by the way. And I have another one. There is a street music. This is what happens when you walk in Hawaii, in Waikiki. So my camera broke down a little bit. So the quality is not the. So you walk around and you see things like this. Anyway, so the point is, so this is the first time I heard some of the seasons. And the sun was pretty good, actually. Those two kids over there. Anyway, so the point is you can find lots of uses for different aspects of light logging. Okay, legal issues. I guess, are you guys interested in legal issues about time logging, or we can skip?
Yeah, what is it in California?
So California is a two-party consent. So you have to, interestingly enough, it's only for audio. So if you record video with no audio, you don't have a, that's why they can have cameras everywhere. As long as there's no audio, you don't need to ask permission. Also, it's a public versus private space. If it's public space, I don't think you need to ask permission, but you do need to ask permission. You don't need to ask permission to record, but you need to ask permission to share. Because the idea is that you have that you sort of remember this conversation or the video. If you record it for your own purposes, it's like as if because you've already been there and you remember what was said, or so having a copy of that doesn't really make a difference. But if you share it to somebody who was not participating in that conversation, for example, you have to get a permission from all three.
Question, so what happens on the street, you take a video, and then you can't share it, so everybody in the picture on the street has to get permission?
So a street is a public space, so you could potentially share it under, I think there is some public light, public law that says, okay, if it's just bypassers, and you could, I don't know exactly actually, but I think you can share. That's why the TV crews, unless they're focusing on you specifically, you can just kind of swipe. I don't know. I need to look, but need to look more into detail. But this is kind of interesting.
But it's about audio. The whole two-party consent is about audio,
Yes.
not video.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So if you just take video without audio in the street,
You can still share. I don't know.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, but
Right. Okay. So, so if you're interested in more things of this nature, there is a well-known concept called getting things done, which is great, but I think it starts too late. So the getting things done says write down all the things you work on right now, and then try to make sense of them. Reshuffle those to make it hierarchy of goals. With TLM, Total Life Management, we say start writing your goals from longer term, 10 years, 5 years first, and then see where your other goals fit into this hierarchy. So maybe most of the stuff you're working on, or some of the stuff you're working on, are not gonna be part of this thing at all, so you don't need to write them down. So if they don't fit, if you have a goal, once you have the couple of higher level goals, and you have a bunch of other stuff and it doesn't fit, just drop it. You're wasting your time. The Time Trap is a classic time management book. You can look it up. It kind of talks about the standard stuff. It's a nice read. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, also okay, has a lot of common sense ideas. Any other materials somebody can recommend, maybe more recent stuff in life management? Yeah, software. So OneNote, Evernote for data collection. There's a Basecamp. There's a bunch of other project management tools that people try to adapt for other uses or for their career goals and life goals. Doesn't work very well, but some combination of these tools might. Back in the day, I was frustrated with inability to find any software that would fit this process, so I built my own. Task management, there's a bunch of stuff like that there too. Wunderlist, you have tasks on your phone. They are useful up to a degree. And you can use even issue tracker if you want. So some combination of these might work. Anybody else have an idea about software that we can use to kind of implement this? Ideas? Yes.
Well, I use some of the stuff that's up there, but then I also have my family using Google Apps.
Okay.
And
yes.
so we have a couple of Google sites that we use as home bases. So instead of keeping our own bookmarks, we just have sites that build out with pages of info that we share among family members, and it's very easy to embed lots of Google Docs and stuff right into the pages.
So that's the beginning of your own knowledge management system. That, yeah, very good. Okay. Yes.
I was wondering, how does the Agile fit somewhere into here?
Agile is a software development methodology. This is a life management philosophy. I'm sure there are some ideas that are similar. I don't know much about Agile. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that said, we try to use Wunderlist a little bit of how do we manage some backlog of tasks that people need to do in the family.
Mm-hmm. How did that work out?
It's a mix. I mean, what I like about Wunderlist is the sharing and the reminders and the sub-tasks to it. What I don't like is the fact that it doesn't have sufficient timestamp histories.
Right.
It's like either it's created or when's the last time you've touched it, but I'd love to be able to see, show me what I've gotten done during the last week by day.
Exactly.
Little reports like that.
So time logging, yeah, look for time logging apps or time logging system.
Mhm.
That's typical time logging. Yes.
For planning initial projects and stuff, some people use mind map or
Yes.
some other things. There's mind map plugins for Google Docs too, so you can actually create your mind map in Google Docs.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
And then
yes.
Trello has a feature now. You can, if you create a list or a board, you can email to it, so you don't actually have to
Enter.
dial up the web and this. You can just kind of message your own board, so it's a little better, well, a little more convenient to input sometimes.
So the mind maps, one point about mind maps is they usually don't have deadlines, right? But it's a great tool for visualization, of visualizing your goal tree. The deadlines and priorities and sort of levels. But I guess you could do levels. But yeah,
Like personal heat map.
right.
One more question. Which one of those softwares are free?
I think Wunderlist is free, isn't it?
What's that?
Wunderlist is free, isn't it?
Wunderlist is free, even multi-user, as long as your lists aren't too long.
Trello, you can do non-paid.
Basecamp is free for basic use, right?
Pieces of Trello are free, pieces of
OneNote
Evernote.
comes basically free in the one